Hey, I'm Sam. Welcome to Brickwall Pictures. It's that time of year where everyone looks back at and ranks their top films of the year. But to be honest, the vast majority of my personal year in cinema was spent going back to older films rather than making any effort to keep up with what's current. I didn't go out of my way to see many new releases in 2023. I haven't seen either half of Barbenheimer yet, for example. I'm looking forward to both, I just haven't got around to watching them yet. In total, I only watched about 10 feature films released in 2023. So a top 10 list for 2023 would just be the only 10 movies I saw this year. Even still, the end of the year is a great time to look back and do a little retrospective. So what I'm going to do instead is just highlight the best films that I watched for the first time in 2023, regardless of release year. Before that though, I will give you a quick lightning round of all the 2023 movies that I did see. And, just to be clear, I'm going by theatrical release date, and sometimes IMDb and other places list the release year by when a movie had its film festival premiere. So you might see a couple of these movies listed as 2022 somewhere, but they weren't really available until 2023. Here are all of the 2023 films I saw ranked real quick from worst to best. Scream 6. Better than 5, but the ending sucked and neutered the movie, removing all danger and tension and stakes. Huge fumble right in the closing moments to go, oh, don't worry, everyone lived, nothing mattered. Okay, next up, Evil Dead Rise. I had hoped to enjoy this much more than I did, but it's still just Raimi's first two movies that I really love. This felt like so much of a glossy studio product to me, which is not what I'm looking for in an Evil Dead movie. Next up, Sisu. Some fun and creative moments, but way too slight with no meat on its bones at all. Next, When Evil Lurks, a fresh and original feeling spin on the demon/possession horror subgenre. But it doesn't exactly communicate its interesting ideas in the best ways. The movie worked less for me in the second half, and the big climax didn't really work for me at all. I was starting to kind of check out by the end after really enjoying the first half. Still worth watching. You might get more out of it than I did, and I hope you do. VHS 85. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think this might be the best total package of the VHS franchise, which has always been an extremely mixed bag, so it's not really saying all that much. The best individual tape of the franchise is still Safe Haven from Gareth Evans and Timo Scianto, but 85 has some solid tapes and no real duds. The highlight was Scott Derrickson's Dream Kill, which I thought was better than either of his big horror feature films. 85 felt like it had more thought and care put into the overall presentation and through-line experience than the other movies in the series do. Talk to Me. And it's at this point that I'm realizing that I pretty much only watched new horror movies in 2023. Talk to Me was solid. I saved it for Halloween night and I had a great time with it. It's cool to see some YouTubers make an actually great movie. I only ever caught a random Raka video here or there. I'm not really like a fan of them per se, but I always thought it was clear that those guys had major potential as long-form filmmakers, and it's great to see them deliver in this way at this magnitude. Next up, Missing. I went into searching expecting for it to be a dumb gimmick movie, but I ended up liking it so much that I watched Missing right after in a double feature, and I enjoyed this one a whole lot too. And that's the end of that segment. If you were counting along and you went, hey, that was only 7. You said you saw 10 movies this year. Just chillax, brosif, I'll get to them. The last 3 were good enough to get onto my actual list of the best films that I watched in 2023, regardless of release year. And one of them's another horror movie, by the way. I won't be doing a list of the worst things that I watched in 2023, but I will tell you that the single worst thing I watched in 2023 or any other year was Randy Quaid's Star Whackers documentary, which I made an entire video about. Go check that video out if you missed it. Okay, now here we go. The best films from any year that I watched for the first time in 2023. A grab bag of random movie recommendations. Oh, and you know what? As a bonus, I'll do a separate video where I give you a little rundown of the best video games that I played this year too. I'm thinking about maybe starting to do some more video game content on the channel in the future. Let me know if that's something you want to see or if it's specifically something you would not want to see. And I'll just say real quick that in order to get this video and the other one out in time, I did have to, stop writing it eventually and shoot it and edit it and all that. So I'm recording this near the beginning of December, and I'll have surely seen some other movies after that. If you want to keep up with everything I watch, follow me on Letterboxd at Brickwall_. And now finally, here's the actual best list. Number 37. Yeah, that's right, 37. We're covering 37 movies here. Number 37 is Smoking Causes Coughing. This is one of Quentin Dupieux's 2 latest films, released after I finished making my video essay about him. And you know what? It's another winner. Absolutely hilarious. It's a bit of a vignette film, and I loved all of the vignettes and the main through-line plot. My favorite was the kid who gets his legs caught in a wood pulper or whatever that was. That's a perfect blend of Dupieux's surrealist and humorous sensibilities. Number 36, Noroi the Curse. That's probably pronounced wrong, but I don't have a better guess. I watched this one on Halloween night and I loved it. One of the best uses of found footage and mockumentary filmmaking that I've seen in the horror genre. Lots of films employ that style, but then they aren't convincing or they squander the potential of it or just don't utilize it. But Noroi nails it. And that style is a perfect fit for the story and the folklore that's being explored. Number 35, Men. This was a really divisive one when it came out. Lots of people hated it. I thought it was great. Solid horror concepts, original, great performances. Number 34, Breakdown. This is an old Kurt Russell action thriller that I had always overlooked since it seemed kind of generic and disposable from the outside. After a couple of screenwriter friends of mine independently used it as a comp for their scripts, and they highly recommended it, I said, okay, I gotta give it a shot. And they were right, it's great. It is really simple, but it's got such a tight screenplay where everything is perfectly plotted and paced. It moves like lightning, and it has just the right balance of mystery, twists, and thrills. Number 33, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. First of all, what a title. And the film lives up to that title perfectly. The story behind the film of how Peckinpah basically had to self-exile from Hollywood to make a movie 100% on his own terms is fascinating, and it adds a lot to the experience if you go in knowing that context. Number 32, What Happened Was. This is an obscure little drama from 1994 that was once extremely hard to get a hold of. I'm a huge fan of character actors, and I always love to see what happens when they take the reins, which is what Tom Noonan does in this as the writer, director, and star. It has a distinct play-like feel. It has an opening act that could honestly be cut entirely, but then the movie would only be like 70 minutes long. That issue aside, it's an otherwise extremely compelling drama with phenomenal performances from Noonan and Karen Silas. Number 31, Red Rocket. I like Sean Baker's style. He's always doing new, interesting things that go against the grain. I think Florida Project is still his best, but this is a pretty close second. Number 30, The Rider. Before Nomadland, The Rider was Chloe Zhao's indie breakthrough. If you disliked the style of Nomadland, you probably won't like The Rider either. But the inverse is also true. Zhao has a pretty unique style that blends narrative with documentary and uses non-actors to great effect. Number 29, Clearcut. This is a solid, under-the-radar thriller with an important message and a killer performance from Graham Greene. He's been great in plenty of movies, but this is a role-of-a-lifetime situation for him. And I think he stacks up favorably as one of the best performances of 1991, if not the whole decade. Number 28, The Third Murder. This is a Japanese thriller directed by Koreeda that blends the murder mystery and legal thriller subgenres to great effect. Over the past couple of years, Koji Yakusho has become one of my favorite actors, and he is excellent here as the suspected murderer in custody, bringing so much nuance and subtlety to what is already a really complex character. It's honestly the character study aspect of The Third Murder that makes it work so well, more so than the thriller trappings. Number 27, RRR. This shit slaps. It is so over the top and so much fun, and the two leads have endless chemistry. Plus, the music is genuinely extremely catchy, too. Number 26, Yes, Madam. A kick-ass martial arts flick that pairs up the great Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock. It sags a bit in the middle, but it starts and ends strong, and the huge final fight is especially great. This movie made it onto my top 100 action movies list. Go watch that video if you missed it. And if you want more action movie recommendations. Number 25, Minnie and Moskowitz, from the great John Cassavetes, who I am a super fan of. Check out my gigantic John Cassavetes video essay for more of my thoughts on him as a filmmaker and his entire body of work. Number 24, Infinity Pool. This is one of those other 2023 releases from right near the start of the year. Lots of people were not too hot on this one, but I loved it. I've been a fan of Brandon Cronenberg since his first film Antiviral way back in 2012, and I think Infinity Pool is his best work yet. Number 23, Naked Lunch. And what do you know, we're going from the younger Cronenberg straight to the elder Cronenberg. I've been finishing making my way through David Cronenberg's filmography, which I will eventually cover in a Cronenberg tier list over on my second channel, Brickwall Unplugged. Naked Lunch was one of the hardest Cronenberg joints to find for whatever reason, but it's great and it's super weird. It might even be Cronenberg's weirdest, which is really saying something. Number 22, Funny Games US. I'd seen the original Funny Games years ago, but I only got around to the US remake for the first time this year. And honestly, I think spacing out the two so much is the right way to watch them, since they are so similar. If you watch them back to back, there's a good chance that whichever one you watch second would just feel like an unnecessary repeat. But if you let enough time pass between them, and you'd be down to rewatch the original anyway, I say that's the right time to check out the remake. Number 21, Bulworth. A perfect example of a movie that seems like it would be a disaster on paper. 60-year-old Warren Beatty rapping about politics should not work, but it does, and it's honestly excellent. It's so funny and entertaining while delivering some scathing political satire and a sneaky little pro-socialist message that I love to see and you basically never get from a big Hollywood star. Beatty delivered another pro-socialist message in his film Reds, which was even more radical and which I plan to talk about extensively at some point in the future. Number 20, Wanda. And speaking of a film that I'm planning to talk about more in the future, ditto with this one. I will hold my tongue on it for now. Number 19, Righting Wrongs, aka Above the Law. It goes by both of those, and there's even some other alternate titles. A martial arts flick that teams up Ewan Biao and Cynthia Rothrock, who are both at the absolute top of their games. Corey Ewan does great work in the director's chair, and Righting Wrongs stands tall for having one of the most genuinely surprising and unpredictable scripts of any martial arts flick out there. Number 18, Perfect Blue. If you follow my second channel, Brickwall Unplugged, then you may have heard me talk about how Japanese animation has been a big blind spot for me for far too long. I watch live-action Japanese films all the time, but I could count all of the anime films I had seen on one hand. And honestly, I hadn't been too impressed by the ones that I did see. But that finally changed with Perfect Blue, which I thought was excellent. Number 17, a short film about love. Contrary to its title, this is not a short film, it is a feature film. This is one of the expanded episodes of The Decalogue from Krzysztof Kieslowski. If I'm being perfectly honest, some of the messaging of this one rubs me the wrong way just ever so slightly, but that hardly matters when the presentation is so immaculate. It's the emotions of the characters that need to land for this to work, and you feel every moment completely. Number 16, John Wick 4. I got a super early press screening of this one, and I saw it like a month and a half before it was released, and it was so hard to hold my tongue on it that whole time. I need to see it again to know for certain where it ranks in the series for me, but it definitely outdoes the first and third movies. And that's if it doesn't end up outright taking the top spot after a rewatch. Number 15, Poetry. I've been so thoroughly impressed by every Lee Chang-dong film that I've seen. His name should be coming up alongside Park Chan-wook and Bong Joon-ho anytime people are discussing the best South Korean filmmakers. Number 14, Broker. Speaking of South Korea, Broker is an interesting case of a film set in South Korea and starring a South Korean cast, but that was written and directed by a Japanese filmmaker, Koreeda, who's the same director of the aforementioned The Third Murder. He's also the director of the Oscar-nominated Shoplifters from 2018, which Broker is extremely similar to. That similarity is actually a point of criticism for many who have seen both films, but I kind of think that that's the whole point. By telling a similar story with the same ideas and themes, but doing it in a different country, it allows the two films to speak to the universality of those core themes. Plus, these characters are just so lovable, and I did not want to stop spending time with them when the runtime came to an end. I just wanted the film to go on, and that's why I got to live with this little misfit found family. Number 13, The Double Life of Veronique. Krzysztof Kieslowski is back, and it's actually still not the last time. This is him at his most surreal, exploring a story that would feel at home in the work of David Lynch, but executing it as a capital K Kieslowski film that is never short of stunning. Every single shot looks better than the best shot of most really good movies. Number 12, All Quiet on the Western Front, the 2022 remake. This remake blew me away. I've actually already spoken extensively about this film over on Brickwall Unplugged in my Best War Film Tournament video. So you can pop over there for my full thoughts on this movie. Or not, just stick here, I don't really care. Number 11, Triangle of Sadness. I spoke extensively about this one too, but this time right here on Brickwall Pictures. I did a video essay looking at 2 Ruben Östlund films, one of which was Triangle of Sadness, the other was Force Majeure. And nobody watched that video, so it will probably be fresh to you if you're seeing this. Number 10, we're into the top 10 now. Number 10 is The Happiness of the Katakuris. I love the insane variety of Takashi Miike's filmography, and The Happiness of the Katakuris is definitely one of the weirdest outings. Just like Cronenberg, that's saying so much when it comes to Miike. I loved this film. I'm not the biggest fan of musicals, generally speaking, and I didn't even know this was a musical when I put it on. All I knew is that it was a Takashi Miike film, and that's enough for me to put a film on. When the first big musical number kicked off, like 30 minutes in, I was caught so off guard, and I loved it. This movie is so funny. I was laughing hysterically for most of the runtime. For how weird and dark it is, it's also genuinely joyous and full of life. One of Miike's best. Number 9, Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart at the River Styx. I watched the entire Lone Wolf and Cub movie series this year with the exception of the first movie that I had seen previously. Baby Cart at the River Styx is the best of a long series that doesn't really have any total duds. All 6 films are worth watching. Number 8, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This is just so special and great, equally hilarious, emotional, and poignant. Number 7, The Face of Another. I made a dedicated video about this, which is already on the channel. That was my previous video right before this one. And at the time of recording, absolutely nobody watched it. Bob, it's like my lowest viewed video in a long time. So go watch that one, please. I'm begging. I know it's a black and white movie. People don't like to talk about black and white movies, but I promise you, it's a good film. It's worth talking about. Number 6, A Paragito. I loved the first movie in the Apu trilogy, and I loved the second one too. I'm looking forward to checking out the third one sooner rather than later, and I think I might end up making a video about the trilogy as a whole at some point, but no promises. They're really good. Just go watch them. Number 5, Love Streams. I talked about this extensively in my John Cassavetes video essay. Again, check that video out if you missed it. That's probably the video that I sunk the most time into this year. Number 4, a short film about killing. And what do you know? It's Krzysztof Kieslowski again. This is a powerful piece of work in the truest sense of the phrase. It can often be difficult to quantify the real-world impact that cinema can have, but a short film about killing is the clearest example of that in action, as it was a direct influence on Poland's decision to abolish capital punishment. That's the power that incisive social commentary can have. Number 3, Killers of the Flower Moon. And it's the last of the 2023 releases. That's right, this is a brand new film, and it does stand tall as one of the best things I watched this year, released anytime. As far as new releases go, when I logged this film on Letterboxd, I had the realization that Killers of the Flower Moon is only the second film released in the last 5 years that I gave a perfect 5-star review to. And the other one was The Irishman. Yeah, they're both Scorsese joints. Nobody in modern cinema is working at his level. This is a tremendous piece of work that is gripping for every single second of its gargantuan runtime. There are hordes of movies released these days that are way too long for what they are, and Scorsese is one of the only directors using these long runtimes appropriately and justifying the lengths. I want to watch it again already. I could have watched that thing twice in a row. Number 2, Interrogation. I think there's a good chance that you have no idea what this is, because I had no idea what it was either. After watching and really enjoying Clearcut from earlier on the list, I noticed in the credits that the director's name was Polish when it scrolled by. And I thought, that's surprising. Not what I was expecting given the subject matter. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I will try. Ryszard Bogatsky. Ryszard Bogatsky. Fuck. Okay, try one more time. Richard Bogacki. I cannot pronounce his name. I try my best there, honest. Anyway, out of curiosity, since I liked the style of Clearcut, I decided to watch one of his other movies at random. And I happened to pick his 1989 film Interrogation, which was also just randomly on YouTube for free. Someone had uploaded it. When I put that on, let me tell you that there was no part of me that was expecting Interrogation to be the second best film I saw all year, and one of the best films I've ever seen, full stop. I was floored. This is an incredible, powerful piece of work, and one that I definitely need to make a dedicated video for. Again, look for it in my Essential Cinema series at some point down the line. And finally, number one, it's actually a joint spot because it's a movie and its sequel. It's The Human Condition. It's a title that demands greatness, and greatness it delivers. I'm already working on a video about the Human Condition trilogy, so stay tuned. That should, in air quotes, be coming out relatively soon. You can put relatively and soon in air quotes too. I don't know how long it'll take me, but I'm already writing it. And speaking of coming soon, or at least soon-ish, I am also actively working on a list of my top 250 films of all time. I get asked about this every once in a while, what my favorite movies are, or if I'm working on this list, because I've teased it in the past. At this point, I've been working on it for literal years. I keep fiddling with the list, adding new movies to it, reordering the films on it, taking other movies off. I gotta just put the thing down, step away, and go, okay, here's the list. But at any point, I'm almost finally done setting the order in stone. If you want to hear literally everything I watched in 2023, I'll be doing a live stream where I go through every single title, including TV shows, over on my second channel, Brickwall Unplugged. You can head over there if you want more off-the-cuff, unscripted content from me. Or just stick here if you like the scripted, more polished stuff. That's all for today. Stay tuned for my best video games I played this year video, which will be coming out soon. But for now, thanks for watching. Happy New Year, happy whatever holidays you celebrate, and I'll see you in that video game video and then again in 2024.